Let me tell you about the day a woman in a black Hummer tried to destroy my life. Yeah, that happened. And how, by the time the dust settled, she ended up teaching herself the very lesson she thought she was teaching me. I mean, it started with a bang. Me screaming at this HOA chairwoman who'd blocked my car in the parking lot, watching my shot at a career-making deal slip through my fingers, while she just sat there, smiling through the tinted glass, acting like the queen of her little concrete kingdom. If you've ever fantasized about revenge on someone who abused their power, trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. This was supposed to be my big day. I'm a freelance accountant, 32, hustling, trying to turn one break into a future. I just landed a meeting with a major corporation, chasing a contract big enough to change my life. Parked in the visitors section, legit permit on the dash, I was by the book and on cloud nine when I walked out, thinking about the bonuses and the cold drinks I'd buy with that commission. That's when I saw it. Her Hummer, parked nose to nose with my Civic, no way out, engine purring and air conditioning blasting. Like she was waiting for me. I tried being nice, tapped her window, offered a smile, kept it civil. But when the window cracked, there she was, Patricia Williams, mid-40s, expensive everything. Eyes hard as stone. What do you want? She spat. I told her she was blocking me. She looked at my Honda like it was something she'd stepped in and sneered. This spot is reserved. VIP only. I changed the rules. That's when the reality hit. She was the HOA chairwoman, and in her mind, that made her judge, jury, and executioner. Now, I'm not a confrontational guy. I tried showing her the permit, but she flicked her hand like she was shooing away a fly. Security guard Dung, who'd always been decent to me, wandered over. Even he looked lost. His system showed my permit was valid. But Patricia, drunk on authority, just said, the procedures changed. Update your system. Dung was stuck, so was I. And you know how bullies love to escalate? Patricia leaned into it. She started spouting off about power dynamics, hinting her divorce taught her how to survive being powerless, and now it was my turn to feel what she'd felt. She slammed the door, told me, "You'll learn," and sat there, humming away while hours ticked by. It's weird how fast you can go from feeling like a grown man to feeling like a kid getting bullied on a playground. Missed my next meeting. Lost another contract. Tried to reason with her. Offered cash. Begged. Tried everything short of calling in a SWAT team. She just laughed, then even faked a medical emergency, clutching her chest, gasping, making a scene until security radioed for an ambulance. And then, just like that, she straightened up. Just stress. I'm fine. When the police showed up, she played the victim, told them I was harassing her. Luckily, the older cop wasn't buying it, and the only thing she managed was getting herself a warning about filing false reports. She didn't budge. Night rolled in. My girlfriend called, thought I was making excuses. Just call a tow truck. Yeah, if only it was that simple when the HOA chairwoman is the one playing games. But it wasn't just about getting home. My laptop, contracts worth more than $1 billion dong. My entire future was locked in that car. Walking away meant giving up everything. When you hit bottom, you call your mom. I did, and she said something that stuck. You're not trapped, son. You're choosing to fight. But are you fighting smart? That's when the anger turned into research. Dug into public records, divorce filings, property deeds, and found out Patricia's whole empire was built on sand. The Hummer? Registered to a company, Williams Consulting, LLC. The address didn't even match where she lived. She was using a company car as her personal weapon. A quick call to a legal advice line, and a few searches later, I found Tom's Towing, problem vehicle specialists. Turns out, company cars are a whole different beast. Insurance, liability, and the right to tow is much easier to prove, especially when the company's not on board with someone using the car for personal grudges. Tom answered himself, his voice gravelly but confident. I'll be there at 7:30 a.m. sharp. When Patricia came back around midnight with takeout, I was calm. No more panic, just waiting. She smirked, thinking she'd won. I told her, you'll find out in about 7 hours and 43 minutes. That got in her head. The next morning, I was still there, unshowered, exhausted, but composed. She was expecting defeat. Instead, I was all small talk and smiles, like I had a secret. And I did. When 7:30 rolled around, you could hear the diesel engine of Tom's tow truck echoing through the garage. The crowd had gathered. Folks love a spectacle, you know? Tom stepped out, clipboard in hand, all business. Patricia panicked, ran to her Hummer, but Tom stopped her cold. "Ma'am, the removal process has started." She screamed about authority, called it harassment, threatened to call the cops, but Tom was unshakable. Blocking a legally parked vehicle for 16 hours is harassment. This is problem resolution. She went for one last act, throwing herself on the hood, begging. Tom called it in, threatened to get police involved for interference, and finally, Patricia staggered back, mascara running, watching as the hydraulic arms lifted her precious Hummer off the ground. The crowd started clapping. Someone shouted, "About time." Another, "That's karma." For the first time in 16 hours, I could breathe. Tom handed me a receipt. Patricia stared at the numbers like they were a death sentence, and I rolled out of that garage to a round of applause. What followed was almost poetic. My client, the one I'd thought I'd lost, called after seeing the viral video. Anyone who can handle that kind of mess is exactly who we want working with us. The contract wasn't just back, it was locked in. My business exploded, Tom's towing became a legend, and Patricia's little empire crumbled overnight. The HOA board fired her. Her ex-husband used the footage to tighten custody. The company fired her for unauthorized use of the car. She couldn't pay the storage fees. The Hummer got auctioned for pennies. It was justice, messy, public, and yeah, a little bit satisfying. The building's reputation improved. Security guard Dung got a raise. Visitors felt safer. People moved in, drawn by the story. And everywhere, strangers online were cheering, because we all know what it feels like to be bullied by someone with a badge, a title, or just a little bit too much power. A few months later, I saw Patricia at a grocery store, riding the bus, eyes down, beaten, not angry, just empty. It was over for her, but the lesson stuck with me. Sometimes the only way to break the cycle is to stop being the victim and start fighting. Smart. Turns out, the most powerful thing you can do is let a bully hang themselves with their own rope, just by insisting on what's fair and using the tools the system gives you. And now, the parking garage where it all happened is kind of famous. People take selfies there, swap stories, and I get asked all the time, "Are you that guy?" You bet I am. The story's not about revenge. Really, it's about standing up, using your brain, and showing that sometimes the little guy can win, so long as he keeps his wits and his nerve. So, what do you think? Was I right to fight back the way I did, or did it go too far? Ever tangled with a power tripper like Patricia? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear where you stand on justice, authority, and what it really means to fight back. You know, I thought that was the end of it. Case closed, drive off into the sunset, maybe catch up on the work I'd missed, and leave the whole episode behind me. But the weird thing about these stories is they don't actually end when you think they do. Turns out, when something goes this public, this viral, it keeps echoing. It follows you in little ways, sometimes in big ones too. In the days after, I must have had 100 new emails and twice as many messages on social media. Some from old friends I hadn't heard from since college, a couple from clients who'd dropped off years ago, and a ton from complete strangers. The overwhelming vibe was support, people sharing their own HOA horror stories or run-ins with someone on a power trip, telling me that seeing someone actually win for once, well, it gave them hope. And yeah, there were a few who thought maybe it all went too far, that Patricia didn't deserve to lose everything over a parking spat. But most folks understood it wasn't really about parking. It was about standing up to the sort of person who thinks the rules don't apply to them. But even as my business picked up, there was this weird undercurrent in my life, a sort of minor celebrity that didn't sit right with me at first. Clients were impressed, sure, but so were random people at the coffee shop, at the gas station, even at my girlfriend's gym. A few times I'd be waiting in line somewhere and hear somebody whisper, "That's him. That's the guy from the video." One guy bought my coffee just for the story. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a little bit fun, but it's surreal, you know? You're just a regular person one day. The next you're a local legend for basically surviving a 16-hour headache. And then, almost as if life was trying to keep things balanced, there were the calls from reporters, the questions from lawyers, folks wanting the inside scoop or trying to use my story as a lesson in their seminars or business classes. I started saying yes, here and there, mostly because I wanted people to understand what really happened, not just the chopped up, meme feed version, floating around online. A couple of weeks in, the HOA's new board actually invited me to a community meeting. It was bizarre. I walked in, half expecting to get side-eyed by a bunch of uptight residents, but instead I got applause. One older woman came up, hugged me, and said, "You finally did what we were all too scared to try." Another guy, some IT consultant, wanted advice on how to handle his own battle with a different HOA bully. That night, it hit me. I hadn't just solved my problem, I'd accidentally given a bunch of people permission to fight back, too. Funny thing, security guard Dung, the quiet hero of the whole ordeal, pulled me aside in the lobby that night. He just smiled, shook my hand again, and said, "You changed things around here. People feel safe now. Less afraid." That meant more to me than any viral fame or contract ever could. But not everyone was thrilled. I'd get the occasional nasty DM, people calling me a troublemaker or saying Patricia was the real victim, and didn't I ever think about her side? I try to respond when I could, explaining that nobody deserves to be dehumanized, but you can't let someone use their pain as an excuse to wreck someone else's life. I don't hate Patricia, I never did, even after everything. I get it in a way. Sometimes power's all a person's got left, and they hold on to it with both hands, even when it slips right through their fingers. One morning, about a month after all this blew up, I went back to that garage, just to see if it still felt like the battleground I remembered. Instead, it was kind of peaceful. New signs, more security cameras, and a whole new batch of visitors parking without a single confrontation. I actually parked in that same spot, looked around, and just smiled, because I realized I wasn't nervous anymore. Not angry, not anxious, just done. The story that felt like it would define me forever was finally just a story, not my entire life. If there's a twist, it's this. A few weeks later, I got an email, anonymous, no name, just a short message. It said, "I'm sorry for how I treated you. I lost a lot, but maybe it was what I needed. Hope you're well." I don't know for sure, but I have to believe it was Patricia. And honestly, I hope she's all right. I hope she finds a way to start over that doesn't involve hurting people just to feel in control. Because, in the end, nobody wins that game. Not for long. Life moves on. My girlfriend and I joke about my 15 minutes, and sometimes I get recognized by new clients who want to shake my hand and say they saw the video. I still park in garages all over town, still double-check the signs, but now I do it with a kind of quiet confidence. Not because I want another showdown, God, no, but because I know I've got what it takes to stand my ground if I ever need to. So, let me ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have fought back, or would you have just walked away? Have you ever stood up to someone like Patricia? Or maybe, have you ever realized you were the one standing in someone else's way? I'd love to hear your stories. Drop a comment. Share your battles, your wins, your lessons learned. After all, we're all just trying to figure out where the line is between standing up for ourselves and knowing when to let go. And sometimes, the only way to find out is to live through it. Thanks for listening. And for everyone out there fighting their own battles, don't let anyone tell you you're powerless. You never know when your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear.